日本の皆さん、こんばんは。マオズさん、good afternoon, good morning。
Good morning.
本
Good
日、
morning.
本日はお集まりいただきましてありがとうございます。今日はですね、ハマス被害者はなぜ和平を求めるのかと題して、イスラエル人のマオズ・イノンさんをこのウェビナーにお招きしました。Good morning again, Maoz. Good evening to everyone in Tokyo. And welcome to today's webinar talking about the peace between Israel and Palestine. So here we have our guest, Maoz Inon, an Israeli entrepreneur and also a peace activist. And I'm gonna explain about him in Japanese briefly. マオズさんはですね、今回イスラエル、イスラエル人で今回、ハマスの攻撃によって10月7日に、ご両親を亡くしました。マオズさんはですね、もしイスラエルとか、パレスチナに来たことのある方ならもしかしたらご存知かもしれないんですけれども、アブラハムツアーという、観光会社やホステルをですね、運営している、起業家でもあって、そのビジネスパートナーとしてパレスチナ人とも働いています。ですね、ただ今回そのご両親を失ったということで、悲しい状況にあるわけですけれども、なぜじゃあマオズさんがその10月7日以降和平を訴え続けているのか、それをご本人に話していただこうと思います。ここで一度改めて、皆さんご存知だと思うんですけれども、一度地図について説明しておきたいと思います。この今地図が映っていると思うんですけれども、この白く塗られた部分、イスラエルと書いてある部分が、国際的に認められたイスラエルとなります。そしてこのベージュのウエストバンクとガザと、書かれているところが、いわゆるパレスチナ。国家としては認められていないですけれども、パレスチナ。で、ここに多くのパレスチナ人が住んでいます。そしてもちろんイスラエル国内にもおよそ200万人のパレスチナ人が住んでいます。で、マウスさんはよく言うんですけれども、この狭い土地にですね、イスラエル人とパレスチナ人が何とかして共存するように見つけないといけないというふうに訴えています。So the Maoz, I just briefly explained about the profile as an entrepreneur and as an activist, and also what happened to you on October 7th. And now we would like you to share your feeling and thoughts since the war started, and what you want to address to this situation right now, and your prospects about the peace. So Maoz, now floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Taiji, and Suzuki for organizing this webinar. And thank you for all of you that are joining from Japan, from other places. I see some familiar names and photos from Instagram and Twitter. So it's really, really great. Before I start, I want to also to say that in the map Taji just presented, between the river and the sea, there are about 7.2 million Palestinian and 7.2 million Israelis, Jews Israelis. And everything that I'm saying is based on the assumption, but also the fact that no one is going to disappear. We all going to stay here. Like Taji said, I lost both my parents on October 7th. They were among the first victims of the Hamas attack. They lived just on the border of Gaza from the north side. This is where I grew up till the age of 21. I lost many childhood friends. I lost many of their parents, of their children that were killed, and many were kidnapped to Gaza. Some are still in Gaza. I would like to start with sharing the lessons I learned since October the 7th, because for me, it's what's most important. It's what I learned and what we are doing now. And maybe before saying it, I will share with you a vision I had 2 days after my parents were killed. I was in the same room I'm speaking to you now. It's a small community in between Tel Aviv and Haifa, central Israel, not far from the sea, Mediterranean Sea. And I had a vision where I woke up at night, my entire body was in pain. It's very, very immense and strong pain. My entire body was in this pain, and only 2 days after I lost them, and I could see everyone was crying. The entire humanity was crying with me. We were all crying. And then I could see our tears falling down our faces. And we were all crying and crying. And then the tears went down to our bodies. And I looked for the first time on all of us bodies, humanity. And our bodies were wounded very badly from the war. Our bodies were bleeding and damaged and broken. And our tears washed our bodies and healed our bodies and cured them. And like in a motion picture, in an animation, our bodies were cured and whole and healthy again. And then for the first time, I looked on the ground and our tears kept coming. All humanity, we were all crying and our tears went down to the ground after healing our bodies. And I saw the ground was soaked with blood. Everything was red from blood. And it was like in a nightmare. It was so horrible to look on the ground. But our tears kept on coming, and our tears washed the ground and purified the ground. And then on this beautiful ground, on this beautiful land, I could see a path. I could see the path to peace. And I've decided on that night that I'm going to choose the path to peace, that I'm going to choose reconciliation, that I'm going to choose forgiveness, because only this path will make my body and my soul that was broken to pieces after losing my parents, only this path will make me whole and pure again. And I've been starting 8 months ago. I've been starting walking the path to peace. And I met many Palestinians and Israelis. Palestinian from Gaza, from the West Bank, Palestinian with Israeli ID, Palestinian in the diaspora, and of course, many, many Israelis. And I want to share with you the lessons I learned in the last few months. Two of the main lessons I learned from a Palestinian peace activist, Hamza Awaude. Hamza's family was evacuated back with the independence of Israel and the Nakba for the Palestinian. Their village was completely ruined, taken over by Israel, and they fled and find shelter and refuge in Hebron, in the West Bank. And in the last recent years, Hamza lives in Ramallah, between Ramallah and Rimini in Italy. He was lived all his life were under occupation and oppression of the Israeli military occupation in the West Bank. And he was interviewed to the CNN. He was asked, Hamza, where do you find hope? Where do you find hope with all those horrifying images and videos of the casualties and the deaths within Israel and in Gaza? Where do you find hope? And he said, I don't find hope. I create hope. Hope is an action. And my mind was blown. My mind was blown. And I researched and learned about hope. And I want to present and offer you a very, very simple and easy to practice formula how we create hope. We create hope together. It's like what Hamza said, it's like love. You cannot do it on your own. We create hope together. And this is what we are doing here. We are creating hope together by envisioning and dreaming of a better future. We must envision a better future, and then we must act on the ground to make this future and dream into reality, and in the same time, convince ourselves and then the others that our actions are effective and making an impact. Because if our actions are effective, we're going to reach this dream. We're going to make this future into reality. So it's very easy to create hope. And this is what so many organizations, Palestinians and Israelis, Jews and Arabs are doing for many, many years and are doing much more nowadays. We are creating hope. We are building a future, and I'll go later into more specific how we are creating hope, and also I will address you, the citizens of Japan. So hope is an action. This is a very important lesson. And then Hamza said also in the same interview that he is willing to forgive about the past, he is willing to forgive about the present, but he is not willing and he won't forgive about the future. Not to himself and to no one else, if we won't make the future better. It was so deep, I wasn't sure what I'm listening to, what I'm hearing. So I listened again to this interview. If Michal, maybe you can share this interview on the chat.
Just a second.
Please, thank you, Michal. Without Michal, and Michal, it's again a great opportunity to thank you again, because Michal is my partner in this path. We are doing everything together, and without Michal, we wouldn't be able to do it. So thank you again, Michal. So I listened to it again and again, and I asked myself, Maoz, if you want to be a good person, like the Palestinian peace activist Hamza Awoude, who should you forgive? Who should you forgive in order to build the future? The immediate answer was Hamas. Hamas killed my parents. This is my narrative. In my narrative, Hamas is a fundamentalist, extremist organization that is oppressing and killing his own people, and it is with his nature to kill innocent people. And it was my parents and my friends' misfortune that they were killed by Hamas. I have decided, it was November, just a month, I think it was November, just a month after October 7th, that I am forgiving Hamas. But my anger, my call to revenge, I was blaming, I held accountable for the death of my loved one. It was the Israeli government. The Israeli government that again and again and again and again promised us security and safety. They promised my parents and our community that they are protecting them from the same Hamas. And they totally failed. They failed in a way that we could not imagine before October 7th. And I was blaming them. I want to make them pay for what they've done. I have decided to forgive the Israeli government. I have decided to forgive. I have decided to dedicate all my time, all my energy, everything I have, just in order to build a better future. This is what I'm doing. I don't care. I forgive about the past. I forget about the present. I'm concentrating just in the future. And then one of my best Palestinian friends, again, it was in November or early December, one of my best Palestinian friends, she knew my parents. My parents knew her very well. And we were talking, not through a webinar or a phone. We were sitting having coffee, maybe 1 meter from each other. And she asked me if she can ask a very difficult, a very tough question. Of course, I told her yes. And she asked me that maybe what burned my parents' house to the ground with my parents inside, and it was burned such a high temperature, there are remains of my mother, but we cannot identify them by DNA. All the laboratory and the most sophisticated labs in the world, and Israel is investing a lot of money in it, cannot identify them for sure because DNA could not be found in the remains. So maybe she's telling me, maybe it was a crossfire. Maybe it was the IDF, like it was happening in other communities. maybe they burned your parents. And she was sitting in front of me and denying October 7th. She was denying my narrative. It was like being punched in the stomach. Like I could not breathe. It was so painful. And then when I was able to say something, I just asked her, what does it matter? What does it matter? What does it matter who killed my parents? They are dead. Nothing will bring them back to life. And they are dead because of 100 years of bloodshed, 100 years of cycle of blood and revenge and war and fear. This is why they are dead. And I don't want to argue with you who is the oppressor and who is the victim, who is suffering more and who is making the other to suffer. Who started it? I don't care. I care just and only that we end this cycle, that we break the cycle of death, of revenge and bloodshed, that we entering a new path, a path to peace. And that's when I realized that the stories of Israelis and Palestinians was split in our holy books, the Quran and the Old Testament, with the different chosen sons of Abraham. All Muslims, Palestinian Jews know those stories. The different chosen son of Abraham, Isaac and Ismail. And for many years, for millenniums, Jews and Arabs live among together in peace through the entire Middle East and Iran. India, North Africa, we live among together in peace. In historical measures or facts, Jews were suffering much more than from the Christian, not from the Muslims. But with the beginning of the Zionist movement, about more than 100 years ago, and the foundation of the Palestinian national movement, our stories started to get further away and away from each other. And with all the wars we've been waging on each other, our stories are getting further and further away. And now today, 8 months after October 7th, today, the gap between our stories is as wide as never, wide as ever. We are never apart as we are today. And it's the biggest but I ever used in my life. But there is a miracle. There is a miracle. The stories of the Palestinian people and the Israeli people are meeting in the future. Our stories meet in the future. Future that is based on equality and dignity, shared acknowledgement and recognition, reconciliation, security, and safety to all. We meet. And as a person, I'm already living in the future. I cry few times a day. I'm sad few times a day. But my partners, my colleagues, my friends are Palestinian Israelis. And people like Tashi and Suzuki, you are my friends. You are my partners. And together, we are building a new future. So how do we make this future? Okay, how do we fulfill and create this future? I'm a social entrepreneur. I opened the first guest house ever in the old city of Nazareth. I'm a co-founder of Jesus Trail. It's a hiking trail that combines Jewish, Muslim, and Christian community in the Galilee, in the north part of Israel, following the footsteps of Jesus. I'm the co-founder of Abraham Hostel and Group. We are running 4 hostels throughout Jerusalem, Nazareth, Tel Aviv, Eilat. We started 2 hostels in the Philippines, in Manila and Bohol. We have a tour company. And when before October 7th, I was doing public speaking and webinar about entrepreneurship. And there are 5 steps for entrepreneurship. First, number 1 is dreaming. We must dream of the future. Doesn't matter if political dream or business dream, we must dream. Then we must reach a shared values. Shared values. I already said the values of the future between the Jordan and the sea. I will re-say it. Dignity, shared acknowledgement, and recognition. Reconciliation, dignity, security, safety. Those are our values. Now we need to build a coalition. You cannot make a dream into reality by your own. We must create a coalition. And this is what we are building and strengthening our coalition, and it's growing day by day. And I'm inviting you, all of you here, to join our coalition. We cannot do it by ourselves. Join our coalition. And then we must have a roadmap. This is the 4th step. After dream, values, coalition, a roadmap. We have a roadmap. We have a roadmap how to achieve peace between the river and the sea. The first 2 chapters in the roadmap are to amplify our voices, which is exactly what we are doing now. Amplify our voices, share it, invite us for continuous webinars, maybe invite us like we've been to visit you physically in Japan. We'll come. I'm here just representing a representative of the coalition. There are many that are doing webinars now elsewhere. Now there is a very big gathering nowadays. Not now, that today in Jerusalem. How we take this strategy into opportunity, into a better future. So Machon Van Leer Institute is organizing today a seminar about that in Jerusalem. Amplify our voices. This is crucial. And the second chapter in our roadmap is to build our legitimacy as the leaders of the future. We are the leaders of the future. And this is why we are also traveling around the world. We are doing on the ground action, but we also asking legitimacy from world leader. This is exactly why Aziz Abu Sara and myself were opening the TED convention. It was 3 weeks ago in Vancouver. And next Saturday, Aziz Abu Sara, a Palestinian peace activist, and myself are invited to meet the Holiness Pope Francis in Verona, Italy. They are doing a weekend of peace gathering organized by the Vatican, and we are officially invited to address the Pope publicly in front of the crowd and in front of the media, to publicly address him and to ask him to support our efforts for reconciliation and peace. So, this is basically, we're already in the fifth step of how to make a dream into reality, which is executing. With no execution, we'll do nothing, and we won't be able to create hope and to make a dream into reality. And what we are doing now, we're already in the execution. And there are more chapters, and as we progress with the first 2, we'll unfold and continue to the next chapters of our roadmap. And I want to share with you, and then I think I'm really open and would love to answer questions. If something is not clear, you are great listeners so far, so thank you. I would like to share with you the mandala my mom gave me when we opened Abraham Tel Aviv back in 2016. It's our biggest property. Also, any one of you that is coming to Israel, feel free, comfortable to contact me directly. I will share later on my social media. Also, I would really will be honored if you will follow me, and I'll promise to follow back. And you are welcome to stay with us. So when we opened Abraham Tel Aviv in 2016, my mom gave me a mandala as a present. And she was a very creative and hardworking mandala painter. She painted thousands of mandala. And I received only one. And I will present you the mandala she gave me. Let's see if you can see it. Okay. And on that mandala, she wrote in Hebrew, she wrote, "We can achieve all our dreams." I'll present it again. "We can fulfill and achieve all our dreams if we'll have the courage to chase them. So I'm not afraid to dream, and I am brave enough with your partnership to achieve my dreams." And before I also, I told you about my father that gave me the power. I told you I shared about my father. I shared, right? Taiji?
Yes,
I'm
yes.
so excited. So I'm, but so my mother and father, and this is what I realized recently. My mother and father prepared me. They prepared me for October 7th to know exactly what to do and how to act after they will be killed. And I took it as a mission and a goal to be able to say that my parents are victims of peace and not victims of war. And this is my purpose in life is peace. Peace between the river and the sea. Thank you for listening.
Okay, thank you, Maoz, for sharing your thoughts and feeling, and also your passion for the piece. So now we're gonna move on to the Q&A session. So anyone who wants to ask any question, he's open to any questions. Any hard, tough questions. So please raise your hand, or please send a message to on the chat. But first, I'm gonna start with my question. So, as I have been in Jerusalem for more than 3 years and talking with Israelis and Palestinians, and also especially after the October 7th, when you look at the reality, so it's all the Israelis are saying that they are traumatized after the Hamas attack on October 7th. And also, even though that including those who used to have some kind of like peace mind or like open mind for the peace. And also at the same time, like more than 30,000 people have been killed in Gaza. And then that's why Palestinians are also traumatized. And then now, as you mentioned, that those people stick to their own narrative. And then they are not capable of showing considerations to the other community. So like even in this situation, or like when you look at the situation, like how can you proceed the path to the peace?
Thank you. It's a very, very good question. And I've been asked this a lot. Yes, both people, Palestinian and Israelis, are traumatized. We are traumatized. Me too. I'm traumatized. But the best cure to heal trauma is by creating a purpose and a meaning to life. Otherwise, there is no reason and no energy and no possibilities to overcome your trauma. And the Jewish people overcome many traumas. The recent one we just, it was the annual memory day for the Holocaust. So the Jewish people overcome one of the most devastating trauma any nation ever had. So we can overcome trauma by creating a purpose and hope. And I think now we are building a new narrative that the greatest purpose a nation can have is peace. This is the greatest purpose and the best way to cure our shared trauma. And we are offering it now. We are offering our cure. We are offering a cure. And more people are eager to receive this cure. And public mind is something that is very flexible. And change can change very fast. And I'll give, again, example from the recent history of Israel. I said about the words Menachem Begin said when Anwar Sadat was visiting Israel back in 1977. And it was only 4 years after probably the most devastating and nearly a war, the 73 war, that Israel was nearly defeated. And only 4 years after, they're starting the negotiation between Egypt and Israel. 60% of the Jewish Israelis are against the negotiation. That's against withdrawing for the land we occupied, not again of removing the Jewish communities on those lands, against negotiation. It was our former Minister of Defense, Moshe Dayan, who said, we better have Sinai with no peace than peace with no Sinai. This was the the mindset of the public in Israel. The night after Sadat visit, it changed completely. It changed completely. Not 60% against the negotiation, but 60% in favor of the negotiation. And when the peace accord was signed only 2 years after, in 1979, I think 99% of the population in Israel were in favor the returning of Sinai Peninsula and the demolish and evacuation of the Israeli communities in the Sinai Peninsula. So we need to concentrate on building the alternative and offering the path to peace to everyone. And more are joining. I was never approached by Israelis as I am in the last recent days. From schools, from gap year program, from universities, from group of activists, or just communities that invite me or my partners in this path to come and talk to them.
Okay, thanks so much. Now we have several questions from our participants. And so the first, there's a question asking, what do you think about the ongoing attack of Israel on Rafah?
It was already, and I looked on it. I gave an interview just few days after to the BBC. From day one, I said, from October 7th in the evening, I knew a war is coming. I knew it. I was born in Israel. I knew what's coming. I said, war is not the answer. War has never been the answer. And war will never be the answer. I cried. I cried publicly at the BBC. I cried publicly, not just for my parents, not just for my friends. I cried for all those who are going to lose their life in this devastating war. I cried so much, and I'm still crying for them now. War will never be the answer. We can achieve what's most important to Israelis, Jewish Israelis, is security and safety. We can achieve security and safety to one people if the other people will enjoy the same security and safety, the same equality, the same dignity, the same recognition and shared acknowledgement. So if you ask me, of course I'm against invading Rafah, but I was against the war in the beginning. And what's happening now, and this is why we need your help. We need the international community to help us to find a solution and reconciliation, to find peace. And the world, there are all major bloodshed conflict in Rwanda, in South Africa, in the Balkan, in Europe, Japan and the US. All those conflicts were solved thanks to international intervention and support. Don't leave us alone. Don't give up on us. Help us and support us with reconciliation aid, with shared initiative aid. There is the G7 summit is happening in Italy next month. The Prime Minister of Japan is going to be there. Japan is the third economic in the world. You must support us with budget, with building our legitimacy. It's not just voting in the Security Council in the UN. That's only words, talking. We need action. We need action, and Japan can lead those efforts.
Thank you. So I just want to say in Japanese. So, 質問は全然もし英語に自信がないとかですね、まあ、だから紛争自体が複雑なのは承知なので、考えがまとまってないけれども、なんかこんなことを聞いてみたいっていうのもあったら、Q&A 欄で日本語で聞いていただいてもいいですし、もちろん日本語で聞いていただいてもいいので、ぜひいろいろ質問してください。Okay, so there's another question. So what made you forgive the people who took away the lives of your loved ones? Like usually people can easily go with the hatred, but how come you can overcome these like a hatred?
I will answer by asking you, how did you forgive the American people? How did the American people forgive you? We need you to teach us how to forgive. This is exactly where we need you. How to forgive. We say in Hebrew that only God should revenge. For us human, we must practice forgiveness and reconciliation. But we forgot how. We forgot how. So this is why I'm calling you. This is why I'm addressing you. This is why it's so important to me to speak to Japanese people. We need you to help us, to teach us how to forgive as a nation, not just as individuals. But if you asking myself, because when you don't forgive, you hate. There is a lot of anger in you, and this hate and anger and desire to revenge was ruined me from the inside. I become sick physically. I become sick. I couldn't support my siblings, my three brothers and sisters, and my three sisters and brother, my family. I have 3 children, my wife. I was eaten from inside with anger and with the sick of revenge, and it wasn't good to me. So I've decided to forgive. And in the more national level, so let's say the IDF located the Hamas member who killed my parents. Okay, hypothetically, assume it, that he knows where he is now. And by killing him as a revenge, as an answer to what he has done, he will kill his son or his neighbor. Okay, so will it then be legitimate for the other family member to revenge again because IDF killed innocent people? So if revenge is legitimate to one side, it should be legitimate to the other side. Revenge should be only in the hands of God. Only in the hands of God. We must practice forgiveness and reconciliation.
Okay. So there's another question related to your answer. So how there's also, of course, those who don't share the same idea or same thoughts with you. But how can you convince those people who don't share the same idea with you toward the peace?
Okay. Again, we'll need to create an historical event, okay? Like the Anwar Sadat event. We'll need to create an historical event that will give both people the confidence that peace is achievable, which again, I believe we all here agree that peace is achievable and will definitely happen. But in order to persuade and bring the other to this idea, we need an historical event. And I want to offer you few historical events that I can think of, okay? We can have a gathering here in Israel of the G7 nation leaders, not just the Prime Minister, the Emperor of Japan, the Holiness the Pope, the King of the UK, the President of the US will all come to Jerusalem with all the Arab leaders. They will all come to Jerusalem and they will show and present their support and belief in peace and reconciliation. They will give us the guarantee that they will guarantee peace and reconciliation. It can happen tomorrow. It can happen next week. Every day that we are waiting, innocent people losing their life. So as soon as it will happen, I think the day after, there will be peace. We need to create. And when Italian journalist was touring with me in Nazareth just a month ago, and she asked me, Maoz, how can I support you? How can I effectively amplify your voice and build your legitimacy? And I told her, Lucia, please, she was writing for the Vatican press. Please arrange me as a meeting with the Holiness, the Pope Francis. It was only a month ago. Next Saturday, we're going to meet him. So I would be honored and humbled to meet the Emperor of Japan, that he will endorse our efforts for peace and reconciliation. And act like this won't be ignored. It will be praised by both people, Palestinian and Israelis. We need to create those events, those images, this new narrative, and we need your help and support to create this new narrative.
Thanks so much. So there's another question from a Malaysian participant. So in Malaysia, almost all the people are the pro-Palestinians, and there is some kind of atmosphere that will cancel anyone who is pro-Israeli. But this participant, it's himself or herself, are like pro-peace, like you. So what can international individuals, like anyone outside of Israel, Palestine, can do?
Thank you for the question. Thank you for the question. First, for all those who talk to me and telling me, I'm pro-Israeli, I'm pro-Palestine, they have the Palestinian or Israeli flag on their profile. First, I'll tell them, you are right. you are right, and you choose the right side. You are right. But by choosing the right side, you are just ensuring the conflict will continue and the bloodshed will continue. This is what you are doing by choosing a side. So I beg you, I cry for you, please choose humanity. Choose peace. Choose reconciliation and forgiveness. And then for our friend from Malaysia, please let's organize a webinar just like this one in Malaysia. I would be honored and humbled to join you. But maybe it's better, will be easier for the Malaysian audience to meet a Palestinian peacemaker. And I'm sure Aziz Abu Sara or Hamza Awaude or Fuad Ahmed El-Khatib will be honored to join you in this webinar because we are partners. We are partners and we are humans and we are walking on the same path, the path to peace. So please organize as many webinars.
Thank you. So now there's a question from Hiroshi Skagawa. Now you have the floor.
Hello, Maoz.
Hey, how are you?
Very good, thank you. How are you?
I went swimming. I went swimming today, the first swim in the season.
You just took over my first question. I was going to ask
Yeah,
you if you had went swimming.
today.
It's very good
I
to
love
see you. Thank you so much, Maoz, for your time, and sorry for not being able to visit you after that. It's been quite long. I've always wanted to see you, but I'll definitely see you very, very soon next time I come to Israel.
Definitely.
Thank you so much for your time. It's such an honor to see you again. Let me make this very simple and straight. After more than half a year of this conflict and what had happened to you and all the ideas that you've been sharing in Israel, it must have been at some part very controversial also, thinking about the conservative people in Israel. Have you come across anybody that you've been able to convince, or way to convincing somebody who's on a totally opposite side of ideology that you have? That's the first question.
So those that are extremely in the other side, okay, that very sure in their position and pro-Israel and that the war should continue, no. But from the center, on those who are silent and hopeless and fearful to share their feeling that the war must stop and we must choose peace and reconciliation, many again. And I was never approached from so many organization individual to come and speak to them, to come and share the lessons I learned and my narrative. So I strongly believe that it's growing, but first we need to build the alternative, to be very much aligned with our Palestinian partners that are walking on the same path with us. And I already see like the demand is rising, the demand for hope, the demand for a better future, the demand for peace. And it was another newly bereaved mother that I think she posted 2 days ago in her social media that only peace is the solution. Only peace is the solution. And that went viral like crazy. Only peace is the solution.
Thank you so much. That's amazing. Also, this is a little bit related to the question, but also it's about the Palestinian side. Have you seen or met anybody from the Palestinian side, especially living in Gaza right now, who has the same mindset as you, not seeking revenge, but rather choosing reconciliation. I mean, it's very difficult to have that kind of, ideology or mindset in Gaza at the moment, but still, if there's anybody you've come across, then I just thought it would be an amazing idea to put you guys together also. But
Yeah, definitely. And we met. We met in Cyprus. We met in Geneva. We are meeting again and again. I named Fuad Ahmed Fuad El Khatib, Kamel Daraouche, and two others that lost. One that lost his brother and father. Other lost 50 members of his family. So you cannot even understand what it is. Like it's too deep, or you cannot imagine anything like this. And we are together. We are together. So if maybe next webinar here, Taiji, I will be happy to connect you to one of them. That authentic voices, peacemakers from Gaza.
Sure, why not?
that'll be amazing. Thank you, Maoz. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. See you soon.
I'll definitely see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So now we have a question from Mihal. Okay. So there's another question from a Japanese participant who used to live in Jerusalem, and his question is why Israel continues to conduct the war, even though there's such a great damage is already caused, and what the goal and whatnot. Why only a few people are seeking a ceasefire, and what's the aim of the government itself?
I'm not a spokesman of the Israeli government. Okay, I'm not, and I think Taiji, you maybe as a international journalist can explain better, because I cannot understand it. I don't know. I just don't know.
Okay, so now there's another question. So I can explain, but I write it in my articles. So please read my articles later, please.
Yes.
Okay, so there's another question. So what is the definition of peace, like in this context?
That's also a great question. So first, it's the values. Okay, the values that I already shared, and I'm happy to repeat them again and again. Equality, dignity, shared acknowledgement and recognition, security and safety, reconciliation. Those are the values. And peace is what's the relationship between Japan and the US. This is peace. The relationship between France and Germany. This is peace. Same currency, same passport, same flag. They are voting next month for the same parliament, the EU parliament. No checkpoints, no border. This is peace. So it's very easy to imagine peace. So if Germany and France were able to achieve peace, if Japan and the US were able to achieve peace, I'm sure Israelis and Palestinians will achieve peace. It's not maybe will, or I'm sure we will achieve peace. Again, the question is how many innocent people will pay the price till we reach our destination.
So there's 3 minutes left. So I'm gonna ask my question again. So even in this situation, all the people from each community are traumatized. So what's your prospects? Like how long, how many years should it take to achieve peace? Or is it in the long term, or it should be in the near future?
It's gonna happen soon. 2030, 6 years from now or less, we're gonna achieve peace. Okay, it's not, again, we're not gonna have the same currency or the same flag or the same passport, but this complete stop of violence and equality and shared recognition and acknowledgement and the beginning of reconciliation process, we're gonna achieve it in 2030 or before. And again, I'm using the example of 73 war, most devastating war in the history of Israel. It took 4 years to the president of the state of the enemy to visit Jerusalem, took 2 more years to sign the peace accord. 4 to 6 years from now, it's gonna happen. But it can happen much, much faster. It can happen much, much faster if we'll have international support, and I can just promise that we here on the ground, Palestinian and Israelis, will do everything on the ground to make it happen as soon as possible.
Thank you. So I got a message. So I just to conclude the webinar, I got a message to my chat. So the participants been to Akko, Jerusalem, and Bethlehem 13 years ago. It was a great experience, and also she or he has been thinking about all the warm people he met in over there. And since October, she been participating in the demo and other activities, but also met some angry people yelling at her or him. And now, but this participants got a great message from you, which is like war is never the answer, which is I think also the great simplification just toward the peace. So thank you so much, Maoz, again, and thanks so much for all the participants from Japan or from Malaysia, from all over the world. Thanks so much, and please share his thoughts to your community and keep watching the news, which is not that fun for the current situation, but please keep in touch. Thanks so much for Maoz and everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.